Okay, thank you, everybody, for joining us either in person or online. I'm going to start tonight by approving the minutes, hopefully, from May 27th. They've been distributed. Everybody's got a chance to take a look at them. So I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second from Charlie? And John, we'll start with you.
I wasn't here, actually.
Do I vote if I took them? I guess it
Yes.
doesn't matter.
Yep.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, they are approved. Excellent. And then we will start with our first matter, which is a continued matter. And it is Klein. So do we have somebody from representing the Kleins? Yes. Great.
Good evening. My name is Elias. I'm here representing Sukaina and Darren Klein. We met last month in regards to their property located at 11 Hancock. They did receive a variance for the height of the home. Would you like me to go over those documents with you?
I mean, I reviewed them. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I saw them and they seemed okay with me. Anybody have any questions or in that regard? No? Okay. Anybody from the community want to?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak. And there are no
Okay.
comments.
Yeah, I took a look at them, so I feel comfortable making a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, then we'll start with you, Charlie.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, you are approved and I will send you a letter by the end of the week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you. Okay, so the next motion, we're now on to our new matters, is Holiday at 56 West Clinton Avenue.
If you're here to represent the applicant, please hit the raise hand button. If you're here to represent 56 West Clinton, can you please hit the raise hand button?
Okay, nobody here yet?
They just left.
They're here, great. Excellent.
Hello, sorry for the delay. This is Annie from Garrison Foundry for 56 Clinton Avenue.
Great.
Great, yes. So we're here to talk about this project. You've had a chance to look at it. If I can share my screen. So it's a historic home, as you've seen from the drawings, and this is basically the premise is that we're taking away the pool. The clients bought it a year and a half ago and they had a baby, and the lot is very small already. So the goal is to kind of increase yard because there isn't enough yard for this very beautiful historic home. So we're removing the pool. And then the reason that we're sitting in front of you today from zoning is this existing garage that's here now. So what we're proposing on these drawings is to, repair the rear wall, which is part of the rear yard setback that we're discussing today, and then build a much smaller structure, just an existing shed, a little storage shed, excuse me, and then like a little kind of open dining pavilion. So we submitted these drawings to planning. We met with them a couple weeks ago, and this is what we're discussing in this diagram that we're showing with you today. This is the existing garage, and then this is the updated reduced footprint that we're suggesting. In addition, this is the pool that we're removing, and then we're proposing some raised garden beds there instead. The goal really is to reduce the coverage. We're in front of you for a lot coverage because the existing site is already or over it. But the goal is to reduce the coverage overall, but basically remove the pool and then reduce the footprint of this rear structure. Again, we met with planning and we're meeting with them next week, but this diagram shows that as well. These are the areas that would be affected. And the house has a second story. There was a question about FAR, so I don't think we're increasing any FAR, but that was a question on your list. So anyway, that's what we're proposing. So we do have a rear yard setback, but it's existing. And then we have a lot coverage variance, but it's also existing. And in both cases, we're reducing what we have.
And you're not sure about the FAR? I was curious about that.
We do have, I don't think we'd be increasing it because we don't, all we're building is a shed, a storage shed, and then just a kind of a covered patio.
Right. Okay. Any questions from anybody?
On the rear yard setback, is that just, is it the existing structure? So
Exactly.
you're not going back further than the garage is currently at, correct?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's a historic structure. We're going to be careful with that rear wall. We're assuming that there's going to have to be some repairs involved, but we're maintaining that line and just, trying, and we're shortening it a little bit. So the new walls, like actually here. But as much as we can rely upon that old wall, great. I'm a bit worried it's built from like the 1890s, but in that case, we're not changing the dimension or, the location.
Right.
That clearly was up against the rear yard from a long time ago.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? All right, well, I will make a motion to approve. I mean, this just seems to be a reduction in just about everything. And I know it's over what's allowable, but it's certainly a reduction from existing and what's been there for quite a long time. So I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll start with you, John.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
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 Great. All right, you are approved, and I will send you a letter by the end of the week.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much. All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay. Yes. Good night.
Good night. Okay, so the next case is Flynn and Pressman, 47 Beechwood Road.
If you're here to represent the application, can you please hit the raise hand button? I don't have anybody here yet.
Okay, so we'll put them down at the bottom and we'll go to Gallo and Desai at 10 Half Moon Lane.
Hey everyone, John Malone, First Malone Architecture, representing Gallo and Desai. This is a project for a new house and on Half Moon Lane. The house includes a swimming pool and planting and a house about 4,000 square foot house. We're here because of swimming pool location. The house has 2 front yards and therefore has 2 street lines. So we need clarification or variance in terms of the pool location, just confirming. I can share screen. I have a diagram that's specifically about that if you want to start there, Sarah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. So the language of the pool location clause is up here on the right if people need to refer to it. But there's 2 controls for pool location. There's the perimeter pool location where it says basically the pool and its equipment needs to be 20 feet off any property line. So the line that we've shown here around the perimeter is that 20-foot setback. The second clause, which is the one that's highlighted here, says no part of the pool shall be nearer to any street line than the rear wall of the main building, which is located nearest that street. So a street line is defined as any property line that is adjacent to a street. So we have two street lines. We have the eastern street line here and the northern street line here. So our understanding of how that code would read on this, we could start with the eastern street line is here. So no part of the pool shall be closer to that street line than the rear wall of the house that is nearest that street line. So the house has a few rear walls, if that was the configuration. If you were looking at it from the east, it has this wall, this wall, this wall. And this wall that's darkened here is the rear wall of the house that's nearest the street line. And so the area available for the pool is the area behind that rear wall. And so we can do that same exercise with the other street line, which is the northern street line. The rear wall of the house that is nearest that street line, again, there's 1, 2, 3 rear walls. The rear wall that's nearest is this one. And then we've shown it to you two ways. This line here is if that was calculated parallel to the rear wall, and then this diagonal line here is if that distance was calculated parallel to the street line, which actually makes more sense to us. And then so the available place for the pool is here. I think, that's our understanding of it, but the planning board sent us here for confirmation or for variance, depending on how the board interprets that clause.
Any questions?
No, that makes sense.
So
So there's no way that the rear wall could be the wall on the
That
on the
other side,
bottom?
yeah. I get what
Right,
you're
exactly.
saying. Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
figure out how to describe it, but yes.
Yeah, right there, yeah.
Can you
Yeah, I
explain
think-
why that couldn't be deemed a rear wall for purposes of the code?
I think it is a rear wall. It's just not the rear wall nearest the street line, right? So the code reads closer to the street than any rear wall of the main building, which is located nearest the street. I think the intent of the code was to allow pools in courtyards. So there's a lot of examples of older houses in the Irvington when this code went in, where you had a pool within a courtyard, which is kind of a preferable condition in terms of its visual impact to the neighbors and stuff like that. So I think this is how they wrote it, to try to basically get pools to be able to exist within courtyards.
And the line on the bottom part of the triangle that you drawn, that's a property line? That's not a street line.
So this is a street line. I mean, this is a property line here. And then there's a 20-foot pool setback from that property line.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
So basically the hash marked plate part of the map is where you think it's appropriate for the pool to be.
Right, that's where I think the code compliant part is. I mean, there's some question between, this line here, which is, perpendicular to the wall. But I think it has to be the street line because, I don't know,
Yeah.
that seems to make more sense to me, parallel to the street line.
Any other questions?
So John, that section of West Clinton Avenue is actually just diagonal parking, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not a through street,
Right.
but it, I think the definition in the code of a street line is basically I guess you could argue, does it apply to this area down here? I'm not sure, but it basically says a property line.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, which thing are we gonna vote?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure that you need a variance.
In
As
which
a,
case, I think we're voting that he has the proper interpretation.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm going to make a motion, I guess, to endorse your interpretation of the code, that you do not need a variance for this pool placement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Charlie, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
okay,
that was the Malhotra's house on that lot that was torn down, actually. The Indian restaurant here.
Oh, yeah.
Cecile.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Okay, so you have no variance, but we endorse your interpretation, and I will send you a letter to that effect by the end of the week.
Okay, great. So thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so Weisholtz and Ditchfield at 2 El Retiro.
There's somebody here.
Okay, terrific.
Good evening, members of the board.
Hello.
Hi,
How are
I'm
you?
John. I'm well, thank you. I'm John Conti, the project civil engineer, and Matt Cordone is the project architect. I think he was up here for a second. He's co-presenting with me in case I stumble. But I'll just give you a quick overview of the project if that's useful. So this is 2 El Retiro Lane in Irvington, obviously. The project consists of a new pool cabana, sport court, and pool, and some modifications to the existing driveway. There's an existing residence that is to remain. We are here for a coverage issue. I will give you this plan here sort of shows the existing conditions on the left, and red is like removals, and the proposed conditions on the right, blue is
Yeah, you're
new.
also here on an encroachment into the side yard, correct?
Yes, I'll address that. I think there was just a misunderstanding reading the plans. We don't plan to have any encroachment into any of the required yards. But I'll show that on my zoning site plan. So as I was saying, apologies. Proposed pool cabana, sport court, and pool. I made this exhibit to sort of illustrate, hopefully clearly, the improvements that this project is proposing. So right now there's an existing pool cabana here, and the yellow portions are what's over the required yard, and the red is coverage that's within the Old Croton Aqueduct buffer. I forgot to mention this property abuts the Old Croton Aqueduct, so there's a 30-foot buffer there. There's this existing driveway that sort of comes around the side of the property, and there's driveway in the back to an existing garage back here. So you can see how much non-conforming there is here. Under proposed conditions, the sport court and the new pool cabana that's shown here and the pool all are within the required yards. I believe what that letter was referring to was a question, and I've at my most recent set of plans for the planning board put this dimension here to show that this pool equipment is actually outside of the required 40-yard side yard setback. And I think they just were questioning if that was inside, but it is in fact outside. And the building itself is definitely over the 40-foot setback. The other thing I wanted to mention was, so there is a reduction from existing coverage to proposed coverage of about 75 square feet. But in terms of how coverage is defined, it's only 75, but sort of real coverage, it's more like 6,000 foot reduction, because this entire driveway is not considered coverage.
Right.
But it is being removed. So I just want to sort of make that point and say that there's like about 3,800 square feet of coverage existing in this aqueduct buffer that is being completely removed, and there'll be no coverage in the aqueduct buffer under the proposed condition. So we feel this is sort of a significant improvement to the site and moving it much more towards conforming.
Great.
Happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Yes, I have some questions, but does anybody else have questions first?
Can you just go over the coverage, just the numbers of, you know, what's there, what it's going to?
Yes. So the existing coverage on the site, do you mean in terms of zoning specific coverage, or sort of like just impervious in general?
Yeah, like, well, yeah, just the summary of total coverage now, what, what's over, what you're asking for in the variance?
Yeah, so there's 33,000 square feet of coverage now. And it will be reduced to 27,000 square feet, which is like a 6,000 square foot reduction. That's inclusive of removing this driveway. If we're considering just the way the town is interpreting coverage, right now there's 18,600 going to 18,535. So I hope that's clear the way I distinguish those two. In terms of how the town calculates it, these are the numbers here. So it's a reduction of about 76 square feet.
We got a letter from one of your neighbors. Did you get that letter as well?
I do not believe so.
You did not.
I have not seen that letter, no.
Okay. Okay, maybe resend. Sarah's going to resend it to you. Sarah Palermo is going to resend it to you right now.
Thank
But
you.
it was from the Wrights, who I believe are below your property. They're on Station Road.
84, okay.
84, yes. So they had some concerns. The first of which was the retaining wall between the sports court and their property. And I guess their question was, are you going to turn that from wood to concrete?
No, there's no changes
No change in
proposed
material.
to this wall at all.
Okay, all right.
John, I can chime in. This is Matthew Cordone, the architect.
Yes,
And
thank you.
we want to preserve that wall as it is.
Okay,
For all preservationist reasons. But yeah, we are not turning this into anything that's going to be concrete or masonry based.
okay, excellent. And sorry, what was your name again? Matthew?
I'm Matthew Cordone.
And can you spell your last name for me just for the minutes?
Sure, it's Cordone.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, so their second question was about runoff from the sports court. I guess that's been something of an issue. I don't know that that's particularly within our purview, but if you could answer that.
Yeah,
easily.
I sure can. I mean, obviously we've been to the planning board and this has been reviewed. So there's a significant mitigation effort around the sport court with rain gardens. So
Okay.
this sport court is going to run off into these rain gardens and infiltrate into the system, and then there's high overflow and a level spreader. But there's definitely a significant effort to mitigate any runoff. And on top of that, the court itself is much smaller than you can see here in the background. The existing building is much more impervious, plus all the driveway that's going away. So
That's
there's
good,
a
yeah.
monster reduction in impervious adjacent to their property. So I would say this is a significant improvement.
Excellent. Their third question was about lighting and sound from the sports court, whether it would be sort of towards their property or away from it.
There's only minimal dark sky compliant path lighting proposed. There's no,
Okay.
we're not proposing to light this court
Okay.
during the dark hours.
Now, where are you planning to put a generator, and is that something that is before us in terms of coverage?
There's a generator proposed
that?
over here.
It is, right? And is that part of the I mean, I
Yes.
sure have it. Yeah, okay. And are you gonna do any sort of barrier around that, or planting or anything like that to sort of minimize noise?
Well, I don't have a photograph of it right now, but there's like a very significant earth berm between the generator and Station Road, and it's like there's a lot of vegetation as well. I don't think I have a photo handy, but this area is like sort of built up significantly, so it's a good sound attenuation.
Okay, and their last question was about the trees along the eastern property line adjacent to the sports court. But I don't know that that's something that particularly isn't, I think that's more of a planning board issue than a zoning board issue, to be honest with you.
Eastbound, we're getting closer to the aqueduct, and we do want to preserve the nature of the
Sure.
aqueduct being the street.
Sure.
So
Okay.
sorry if they don't want to be gone, but
No,
we want
I
to
just
maintain the
want to
nature.
try to address, because they went to the trouble of writing a letter to us. I wanted to go through.
I think they went in about 10 years ago, but they're not, I think there's just like some hemlocks or something.
Right,
They're
yeah,
not,
yeah.
it's not like an arborvitae or,
Right.
they grew fast, but now they're not,
Right.
they're kind of thin.
Okay, so Sarah, do we have any comments from public?
Yes.
We do,
Thomas
okay.
Wright has
Yep,
his hand raised.
Okay.
Thank you so much for allowing us to speak. The first question had to do with the height of the retaining wall, which
Okay.
according to the plans looked like it was going to be capped, as we interpreted it, higher than the current retaining wall. Is that not the case?
Yeah, let's hear from the applicants on that one.
Would you be able to clarify what retaining wall you're referring to?
The retaining wall, which is beside the sports court, the one that you said was going to remain timbered.
Let me see if I can get to a better plan of that.
Yeah, John, if you can show up the floor plan, you can see that we are not identifying it to be capped in any way. We just, I think you're looking at the renderings of it, and the renderings may be a little bit cleaner than the actual existing condition. But we're not intending on adding to that or restoring it in any way. It's going to be what it is, what you see today.
Increasing the height. It will not be of a higher.
No, it will not be.
That is wonderful. Thank you. And the other point just that was mentioned about the trees, those trees are over 40 years old, and they're Norway maples, and they have a tendency to fall down. And this probably is not a planning board issue or a zoning board issue, but we are going to address that at the planning board because one has already come down 18 months ago, and we're afraid they'll hit our house when they come down.
These over here on the eastern property are not Norway maples. This is an evergreen tree.
Oh, not on the eastern. We're talking about to the
To the north?
proposed court
Yeah.
to the, I guess, west.
Southeast,
West.
but west is over that side.
Over here.
Oh, east. It would be on the eastern boundary.
East
of
is
the
over here
proposed
next to the
court.
aqueduct.
3 tall trees there, which are like 40 years old.
Okay.
Okay, but again, it's not zone.
I mean,
I doubt that's zoning, but thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your responses.
Certainly.
no problem. And I think that that's not really a zoning board issue. I'm not even sure it's a planning board issue, but I think it's something that maybe you two could get together with, without us involved, maybe, and discuss about if you'd like to take those down. And obviously the tree commission has to be involved in that, but, that might be a point of, contact between you two about that issue.
Thank you so much for your time and talking to us.
Nope, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So we're not voting on the side yard, or are we?
Well, that's a good question. I was just gonna raise that. I mean, it's been noticed as a side yard issue. And I don't know if, even if it goes a few inches into the side yard, you need a variance for that.
Well-
But he's saying it's a few inches outside.
Right. So you're telling us that you just don't think you're in the side yard at all?
We're not. No, nothing is proposed within any
Okay.
required yard.
Okay.
Where, this is the pool equipment? Is
Yeah,
it,
I could show you
could you
again. Let
zoom
me
in
go
on
back to
that?
that.
Because is it an aqueduct buffer, or is it a?
No, it was
okay,
the
it's a side yard, yeah.
Yeah, basically I talked to Mr. Marone, the chief building inspector, and he said, I used a dash line here, and he
Yeah.
said the line wasn't solid and I couldn't tell if it was over. And he said,
Yeah.
would you please dimension this so we know that it's not over the line? And I think they issued, so that we could apply to the zoning board, they issued this letter before I had that answer to him.
Okay. So we are just going to vote on coverage.
That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Alrighty, are there any other comments, Sarah, from the
Nobody's raising their hand.
public or anybody else? Anybody else on the board have a question?
Can I, can I clarify? So not, not including the driveway, which is being removed, you're actually reducing coverage by, I think, what was it, 75 square feet?
76.
76? Okay, so
Yes.
you're reducing coverage. Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Certainly, certainly.
Okay. Well, if there are no other comments or questions, I will make a motion to approve. This seems like a pretty nice reduction. I know not all of it, driveway, et cetera, is something that we are considering, but it's everything out of the aqueduct buffer. It's smaller than it was. I think it's an improvement. So I'm going to make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Great. Okay, John, we will start with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you are approved and I will send you a letter by the end of the week.
Thank you so much for your time and attention. Much appreciated.
No, thank you. So we're gonna circle back to Flynn and Pressman. Is there anybody on that case? Okay, great.
He was here a minute ago.
Let's give him I don't wanna kick him off for a month just for dropping a call, so give him a second.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Okay, do we want to give him a few minutes just to?
I mean,
I'd rather
a
do
few
that
minutes.
than, yeah, let's give him a few minutes
He
to
did
come
log
again.
in and say that he was here and I don't see him now and I don't.
Okay,
And we all seem to still have electricity, so it's not.
Yeah.
power.
shouldn't be that. So we'll give him minutes to come on back.
There's a scene in the movie Moonstruck where the grandfather says, somebody tell a joke.
Somebody's tell a joke, yeah.
Doing a really big favor. I found his cell phone number and I sent him a text.
Okay,
Good
good.
for
Yeah,
you.
please.
There's somebody with their hand raised and it just says EDP.
Okay, so let's see what that's all about.
They'll have to
Send a message to
identify
Evan.
themselves if they're.
Okay.
Two raised hands.
Hey, this is Evan Pressman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just
Hey,
texting with James Krapp and he said that his Wi-Fi froze and he's trying to log back in.
I'm
right
back
now.
in.
Oh, he's back. Got it. All right.
Sorry,
Thank you.
guys.
Ah, there we are.
Everything's
Excellent.
going well. Sorry, I was late
Good.
before Wi-Fi went out. Perfect. How you guys doing this evening?
Good,
Very
thank
well.
you.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks for making the time. So this is James Krapp from Studio Park representing Evan Pressman and Andrea Flynn for 47 Beechwood. We're here today requesting a variance for FAR. If you give me a moment, I will present my screen. So this was a matter that was before you guys under different ownership. a different family about 5-6 years ago for a similar request for variance, which was approved. We're altering a design now, but I will present to you what we're proposing. Essentially, this is 47 Beechwood. You can see, 5-bay center colonial plus or minus. In the back, it's a little bit of a split level. There's an existing 2-car garage, and the bulk of our proposal is to add bedrooms over top of this garage area. There's no proposed change to coverage in this application. However, it was previously approved for coverage back in 2019 that was already increased. So you will notice that it's slightly over on coverage, but that has already been approved. We're not proposing changing anything at this time. We've gone through everything at planning board, received approval at planning board, subsequently assuming that we could potentially get a variance from the board. As of right now, we are presently asking for about 652 additional square feet, which brings us 15.8% over the allowable. What was previously approved was slightly less than that, but almost equitable. We did an FAR coverage comparison, and we also did, we did a coverage comparison, and then we did a neighborhood FAR comparison, where this proposed increase brings us still within the middle of the neighborhood based upon our assumptions. We went up and down Butterwood and all of Beechwood, comparing every single property. And
Could you just back up and give us that chart again? Maybe enlarge it a little, just so, yeah.
There we go.
Yep. Just to get a good idea.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
some reason, what I got, I could only see part of that chart.
Yeah.
So for frame of reference, the property was existing partially over already to begin with. We're increasing it to proposed 15.8% over. But as you can see, they're obviously proposed larger spaces within the neighborhood. So this is not out of context or out of character. And
Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing that. How much larger are you making it?
So it looks like it's 15% over allowable.
15% over, which is 652 square feet above.
Oh, 600.
Yeah, that's the.
And what was the existing?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back a couple pages.
I think it's like 0.5%.
That's correct. Oh, the existing overage, yeah, 0.5. It was barely
Okay.
over.
Okay, that's the perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Okay,
Oops,
thank
sorry, I clicked.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
you. Okay.
So
Okay, how can I help you today?
Lots of ways. Are there any questions from anybody on the board?
And the addition that you're putting on top of the garage, just confirming it's not going to be any higher than the current height of the house.
no, I'll show you. I never really got to that. So you can see the orange here is what we're demolishing or proposed demolishing, which is the existing roof. We're aligning the back. You can see this on this page. You can see it's we've proposed a gable forward and it's lower. It aligns in the rear, but it steps down due to the width of the building. It's not as wide as the whole mass of the building, but that's the proposed addition.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public or? Nobody here?
Have a good
Great,
evening.
thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, and I
Thank you.
think